Hey, it's John Nemo. Welcome back to another episode. I want to talk about a LinkedIn DM debacle that actually ended up landing me a five-figure client as a result. So somebody else's pain turned into my gain. And this is the fascinating part about this whole story is really understanding the nuances of LinkedIn lead generation, of sales, of marketing, of branding, of copywriting, of trust. There's so many good lessons packed into this one small example. So to kind of set the stage for it, I had someone approach me out of the blue and say they were interested in our done for you LinkedIn lead generation services. And so again, the way that I've set my business up, and you can see all this in my book, LinkedIn Riches. If you want a free copy of it, the audio book, the Kindle version, or the PDF, I just updated and expanded it all, doubled the size of the book. Just go to linkedinriches.com/free, or just linkedinriches.com and click on the free tab. You'll see you can get a free copy of the book, a free digital copy. And in that book, in LinkedIn Riches, I lay out my entire kind of sales framework, sales qualifying process, what I do the minute someone comes into my digital world and into my funnel, all based on what I've learned doing this since 2012, LinkedIn lead generation. And so one of the interesting things, of course, as I got into the conversation with this prospect was kind of understanding, how did you find me? Where did you come from? Why are we talking? All these things. And what came out and what's so interesting was it started with a LinkedIn direct messaging debacle. If you've listened to me for any amount of time, you know that my number one thing about LinkedIn is the money's in the mailbox. The money is in the mailbox on LinkedIn. It's in the DMs, one-on-one messaging. It's not in publishing tons of content. It's not in the algorithm. It's not in all these other places. It's in talking to people one-on-one, having conversations in the LinkedIn DMs, and then moving that, into the process where you actually close a deal. So this prospect initially was talking to someone else, a different LinkedIn lead generation agency or person. And of course, I learned all this on my sales call. And this prospect says to me, yeah, I really got annoyed because I was doing all this back and forth with the person in our LinkedIn DMs, and they literally started trying to negotiate and write out a contract in the LinkedIn direct messaging app. so the prospect's like, so that was a big red flag, because obviously if you're hiring a professional company, a professional service, they're not going to try to negotiate and do contract details in a DM, right? Think about your LinkedIn DMs or Facebook DMs or Instagram. Like, people aren't going to write out all the contract language there, at least not in my experience. In my experience with our agency, we're going to send you a DocuSign, that has contract terms, and you sign here and sign there, and here's deliverables and all that stuff. And also, I'm not going to spend all my time. This is another tip for you in the LinkedIn DMs. You don't want to spend all your time trying to do the sales conversation in there. You want to get the person off of LinkedIn as quickly as possible and into a live face-to-face conversation on Zoom or Google Meet or whatever video app you use. Or if you're old school and only use the telephone, I don't know why anyone would do that. Video is much better because you can see, the prospect can see you, they can look you in the eye, they can pick up more on your emotion. Video is always, always, always better, builds more trust. So get them to a one-on-one video call. Don't do a bunch of negotiating in the LinkedIn DMs. And people ask, well, people always want a paint by numbers script for sales and sales qualifying. And I try to do my best attempt at that in the book, LinkedIn Riches. But here's the reality of it. So much of sales is kind of trying to read and pick up on the nuances of the other person. And also trial and error and understanding, will this be helpful or hurtful, doing the back and forth in a LinkedIn DM. So for example, this prospect said, yeah, the other person was trying to negotiate and write out contract language in this DM. For me, of course, I realized, well, that's a red flag, because LinkedIn DMs by nature are meant to be short little bursts, text messaging style. It'd be like trying to write out a contract on your iPhone in the messaging app, right? You just wouldn't do that. You'd be like, hey, let me hop on my computer. I'm going to type up the contract. I'll send it over via DocuSign as a PDF, blah, 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 right? So that was, strike one against this quote unquote competitor of mine. Strike two was they started trying to negotiate and haggle in the DMs. You never want to do that. And a simple reason is people can misread your tone. If you think about written engagement, it's very easy to misread tone in an email, a text message, a DM, whatever it is, because you might think you can't hear my voice. So you might read it in your head and think I'm angry or I'm accusing you or yelling at you. Or you might read it in your head and think I'm laughing and joking and not serious. We can so misread things via text, via written form. Whereas if you're face to face, one on one on a video call, you can see my expression. You can hear me laughing. You can hear the tone of my voice. Is it friendly? Is it angry? Is it edgy? Is it, aggressive? Whatever it might be. So you want to do your haggling, quote unquote, face to face, right? So that was another strike against them. And then the third strike that really knocked this competitor off of this prospect's potential business was in the midst of haggling in the LinkedIn DMs and negotiating, this vendor, this person wrote, "Hey, check out my book on Amazon. It's awesome. Like, that'll show you how great I am at LinkedIn lead generation." So the prospect's like, fine. So they went and left LinkedIn and went to Amazon.com to look at this person's book. Oh, by the way, guess what book was on the, similar products or similar books related to this item? My stuff. Right? So I have made, and this is another marketing tip, all my best leads, all my best clients, all my best customers, the easiest sales calls I've ever had, the fastest, simplest, most effective funnel or method I've ever had is getting people to read a book. Now, if you're watching the video, I'll get out my props. I have all these different books. So I've got the main book, LinkedIn Riches, which I'm holding up on camera right now. You can get it for free at linkedinriches.com. I've got, I kind of did a chicken soup for the soul approach. So I wrote multiple books on LinkedIn to target the different niche audiences. LinkedIn Riches, of course, is for anyone and everyone, especially small business owners, coaches, consultants, all the types of people we work with. Then I realized another niche audience that we serve a lot is franchise consultants. So I literally wrote a book called LinkedIn Lead Generation for Franchise Consultants. I took the best tips out of the main LinkedIn Riches book, which is kind of my Bible, and I adapted it for franchise consultants. And I used case studies for franchise consultants we've worked with and examples of their profiles and their messages and their strategies. And I created that whole book. I did another one of these specifically for business coaches and consultants. So I also have got one called the Ultimate LinkedIn Profile Template, which is huge. If you're watching the video, you can see it's enormous. It's an 8x11 book, right? It's basically a very large kind of PDF with all kinds of screenshots and examples on how to create a client attracting, lead generating LinkedIn profile. So if you go on Amazon and you type in LinkedIn, or you're looking for books on LinkedIn, I've got something like 5 or 6 or 7 different books. I've also got books for mergers and acquisition consultants. I've got a book for fractional executives and CFOs. So again, I'm trying to publish a ton of content on Amazon as books, because what happens is people use Amazon like a search engine. People will go on Amazon and they'll type in the topic or the content they're looking for help with. So LinkedIn sales, or LinkedIn lead generation, or LinkedIn for business coaches, or LinkedIn for franchise consultants, or LinkedIn for M&A consultants, LinkedIn for exit strategy planners, LinkedIn for whatever it might be. And I've tried to write as many books for those niches, knowing that Amazon is a search engine and it's essentially going to surface your book like Google or AI would surface an answer to you asking a question. So what happened is, when this prospect left the LinkedIn DMs, at the behest of the vendor, the salesperson, like, go check out my book on Amazon, they ran into John Nemo's books, right? And again, the variable, of course, is your creative. Is your marketing well done? Do you have a really good book cover? Is the content really good? Do you have a really good Amazon sales page? Do you have a lot of Amazon reviews and social proof? Do you have really good copy inside the book? Is it appealing? All of which, of course, I've worked really hard at. Long story short, this prospect sees my Amazon or my LinkedIn books on the Amazon page for this competitor of mine and ends up buying one of my books, just going, well, I'm not really sold on this person I'm, kind of getting the weird vibe from in my LinkedIn DMs. I might as well grab this other LinkedIn book from this guy Nemo and see what happens. Now, what's really interesting is the deal kind of dies in the LinkedIn DMs. This prospect does not move forward with this other, quote unquote competitor of mine. Now they're kind of like, I'm going to keep looking. So they move on. So the key lesson there is this person should have moved it out of the LinkedIn DMs and into a one-on-one video call much sooner so that you can talk through contract terms, haggle about pricing, whatever it might be. Again, you're going to get misread. You're going to get misread. And that was something that this person picked up on. They said, yeah, I just got a weird vibe. I got a weird vibe reading this person's LinkedIn DMs. I'm like, well, yeah, because you can misread it. So anyway, long story short, the next part of the funnel is simple, where this person read my whole book. Now think about the value of a prospect that comes to you and says, I want your service. They're already pre-sold because they've read a full book. A great book, and whether it's an ebook, a short book, an actual business book, should do two things. And it should be split 50-50. 50% of the book should be you. It should be your story, your hero's journey, tales from the trenches, who you are, why you do what you do, your unique personality, your communication style, your background, how you got to where you are today, setbacks, adversity, obstacles overcome. If you do that really well and you're authentic and you're transparent and you share your story really well with 50% of a good book or ebook, now people get to know you. They get to know you at a human level. I like your personality. I like your communication style. You feel like somebody I would feel comfortable working with. I really like your values. I really like what you shared about, putting your family ahead of work or whatever it might be. Whatever's in your story, people are going to connect to and resonate with. You're going to attract people that like what you're all about. They're going to like your personality, your communication style, your sense of humor, all of which you put in the book. So that's 50% of it. The other 50% is demonstrate expertise, demonstrate value, actually show people you're an authority. Don't just have a bunch of hyperbole in there and a bunch of claims. Actually show people, in my case, how to get leads off LinkedIn. Actually include strategies, include frameworks, include scripts, include case studies, include step-by-step approaches people can take, all of which I do in my book. So this prospect now reads the whole book, now comes to me, goes to my website, looks at testimonials, fills out a type form, which is a qualification form. So again, I'm still kind of holding back where I don't have an open calendar. I'm not just going to hop on the phone with anyone. You want to have that position where if your calendar is always open and you're always available and anyone, anywhere, at any point can book a call with you, that's a red flag to prospects. Think about this. I always use a story with my business coach, John Michael Morgan, where when he first started out, he was a struggling realtor. He was trying to sell real estate, homes, right, in Nashville, Tennessee. And when he was first starting, he really didn't have many clients. He wasn't busy. And finally, one day the phone rings and someone calls and said, hey, we saw your ad or we saw your sign. We're looking to get a realtor. Can we meet with you to talk about, what we're trying to do with our sale? And John is sitting there, like, as he tells the story, like watching daytime TV or not really doing anything. He doesn't have any work to do. He doesn't have any, any clients or showings. And his future wife, Brooke, is sitting there next to him and like, oh my God, he's finally got a lead. I'm sure he's going to be like, I'll drop everything. I'll meet with you right now, instantly ready to go. And John totally plays it cool. And he's like, well, okay, well, let me see, pretends to like check his calendar. He's like, let me check my calendar. And he like looks around, there's nothing to check. It's like, let me see when I can fit you in. Yeah, this week is pretty jammed up. I could do Thursday at 10 a.m. If you could make that work, I'd be able to meet with you for 30 minutes. And the people are like, wow, okay, yeah, we'll rearrange some things. That'd be great. We're glad you can squeeze this in. Thanks so much. See you Thursday. And John hangs up, and his future wife, Brooke, at the time, his girlfriend's like, what are you doing? Like, it's Monday. Like, why wouldn't you meet with them today? And he's like, because if I look desperate and that my day is wide open and I have nothing to do, why would you want to hire the real estate agent who has no clients, no home showings, doesn't have a busy calendar, is always available 24/7 to meet with new prospects? He's like, they're going to want to hire somebody that's busy, that has to squeeze them in, that is moving and shaking and doing things. And John knew right away he wants to have that leverage, that credibility to say, listen, I'm not just going to drop everything, even if I am in a season of scarcity where I do need more leads and more opportunities. I'm not going to give up that leverage. And that's similar to what I try to do with my business. And what I would suggest you do is, before someone can just take your most valuable asset on earth, which is your one-on-one time, even if it's for, or under the pretense of a quote unquote sales call, don't give that up without qualifying the other person first. And again, I go into great detail in this book, LinkedIn Riches, which I'm holding up again, in how to do that and how to qualify people and what to say in a pre-call form and, all the different conditions you can check. And there's a lot I can share about that. But long story short, to kind of stick with this story and this theme, that person reached out to me and said, hey, I'm interested in, I read your book. I'm interested in LinkedIn lead generation help. Can I talk to you? And I was basically like, sure, that's great. Why don't you fill out this quick form? Let me, go read that. Again, it's a short form. Should just take you a minute or two. Let me review that. And if I think we can help, I'm happy to, maybe schedule some time to talk. If I don't think I can help, I'm going to be straightforward with you. I don't want to waste your time. And that's how you can kind of frame it if they're not a good lead. If I don't think I can help you, I don't want to waste your time and take up, a phone call or a video call or whatever. So basically then the person fills out a type form. I get the type form and I get all the data on who this person is, how they found me, where they came from, how qualified they are. They read a whole book about me, their budget, what they're looking to do. And I'm like, great, they're a good lead. So then I move to the sales call. And then on that live call, it's a much easier process because I've kind of learned, prior to the call, who this person is, how urgent the problem is, how quickly they want it solved. Have they tried other similar competitors of mine? What are they looking for? Who's their target audience? What's one new deal worth to them? All these things. And I'm able to immediately have camaraderie. And this is what's interesting about your content and your branding and your marketing is I show up for the video call looking much like I do on this call. On this video, I should say, if you're watching the video, I'm wearing a baseball hat and a t-shirt like I always do. And the person laughs and they go, I actually thought you'd be wearing your hockey equipment. And it caught me. I'm like, huh? They're like, your hockey gear, like in your book, in your videos. I'm like, oh. And I remember that one of my things that I do with branding is I publish a lot of goofball photos of me. So if you've ever been to my websites or follow me on social media or have read my books, I've got, photos of me wearing a plastic popcorn bucket on my head, playing Star Wars with my boys. I once came to a Zoom call on Halloween with a client dressed in full hockey gear, living in Minnesota. So I had on the hockey helmet, the shoulder pads, I had the hockey gloves. I was ready for the game because I grew up in Minnesota, in North America, in the United States, which is a hotbed for ice hockey. So I'm a hockey fanatic. I live it, I breathe it, I love it. Oftentimes I'll have Minnesota Vikings gear on. I'm actually wearing a Vikings t-shirt. On this call, it says disappointed since 1961. Because Minnesota Vikings fans, much like Michael Scott's character in The Office, we say every year, I'm ready to be hurt again. How are they going to hurt us this year? So I've got actually a purple Vikings t-shirt on right now that says disappointed since 1961. I've got my Victor the Viking little tiki doll that somebody gave me, on my desk. And I'll publish photos of that, just being a goofball, being myself. People have referred to me as a walking dad joke, and that's very accurate. Now, how that plays into all this is the person showed up on the one-on-one video call ready to have fun. They're like, they knew my personality. They immediately cracked a joke about, I thought you'd have your hockey helmet on, ha, ha, ha. So we immediately had camaraderie and rapport because I had put my personality into my content. I had shared authentic photos of who I am, my personality, my sense of humor, all of that. So it made our rapport on that call very easy. There was no shock or surprise on that sales call. And oftentimes I'll hear that people will say on the call, man, you're just like your books. You're just like your podcast. You're just like your videos. I'm like, yeah, it's me. Like it's pretty easy just to be myself. And that's one of the key lessons that I also want to drive home in this episode is put your personality into your content, especially in an AI era when everything can be faked or made up, or anyone can create these generic tips with AI. The only thing that AI can't really steal from you or replace from you is yourself. It's your story. It's your personality. It's your unique journey. It's your sense of humor. It's the way that you talk. That can't be replicated. And that right now, as I talk to you, is your biggest advantage online. It's your biggest advantage in the marketplace is you. Every service has become a commodity. Everything's commoditized. In my case, there's literally probably thousands of different, done for you LinkedIn lead generation agencies or LinkedIn trainers or LinkedIn authors. There's tons. Similar to there's thousands of franchise consultants. If you want to hire, use a franchise consultant to help you buy a franchise business, there's how many thousands of business coaches or fractional executives or whatever it is that you do. Everything is a commodity. Everyone has competition. What really works, where people really decide, is they choose a person, they choose a vibe, they choose a connection, they choose a personality to connect with. Now, all things being equal, you have to provide the service, you have to have really good quality, you have to check the other boxes that people look for. And that's why I say the other 50% of doing a really good piece of content, especially a book, is 50% your personality and your vibe and all that, but also 50% showing expertise, demonstrating expertise, teaching them your frameworks, your strategies, all your best stuff, so that they can look at you and go, one, their stuff is awesome. I love their strategies. It's exactly what I'm looking for. It's the exact approach I would want to use if I was trying to do this myself. And then two, I really want someone that I feel like I would get along with and have fun with or feel connected to. They're my kind of person. They're not too much of this. They're not too much of that. What you'll do, and I know some people are always afraid of, like, I don't want to put too much personality in. What if I turn people off, or what if I repel clients? And I want to say, that's great. There's 1 billion with a B prospects on LinkedIn, for example. I don't need every single one of them to become my client. I cannot serve them all. What I want to do is attract clients that would want to be a good fit with me, meaning attract people that enjoy my sense of humor, enjoy my personality, enjoy the vibe, don't take themselves too seriously, don't expect me to show up in a suit and tie and talk in business jargon and be all formal. I want to attract people who I would enjoy working with as clients and also even as friends, as opposed to, I'm just going to work with anyone and everyone and pretend I'm fine, putting a suit and tie on for every Zoom call. Like, that's not me. I don't want to do that. And what you find is you attract a lot of people who are like, yeah, you're my kind of person. I mean, I literally hired my business coach based on that reason. That's where I first learned this. Was I bought his book back in 2012, John Michael Morgan's book, Brand Against the Machine. I was still at a day job. I was considering trying to quit this safe 6-figure day job to go on my own. I really wanted to start my own business because I was really missing out. We had 3 young boys at the time, my wife and I under the age of 10, and I was missing it. I was at this corporate job all day, 9 to 5, commuting, and I would get these voicemails from our boys every day, like, hey, Dad, guess what I did today? When are you going to be home? I love you. And I still save them, right? I put them sometimes in, I think they're in my audiobook for LinkedIn Riches, and sometimes I put them in the podcast. And I was really looking to leave. Now, I knew part of making that leap to do it, I needed help. I needed a coach. I needed a mentor to kind of guide me. And so I was buying books on Amazon. Again, I'm using Amazon like a search engine back in 2012. I was typing in marketing books, sales books, business books. And one of the books that popped up was called Brand Against the Machine. And I thought, that's a cool title and a cool cover. I love the band Rage Against the Machine because I'm, born in the 80s, went to high school in the 90s, love alternative, love Pearl Jam, Seattle sound, but I love Rage Against the Machine, just that, go against the grain, fight the man, just awesome rock. And I love what they kind of stood for. If you know the band Rage Against the Machine, their vibe very much is be a rebel, go against the grain, fight the man, all that, which I love. So the fact that book kind of evoked vibes of that, Brand Against the Machine, be different than everyone else doing branding, be unique. I bought the book. I'm like, I like the title. I don't know who this guy is, but it sounds good. Once I started reading the book, Brand Against the Machine by John Michael Morgan, 50% of it was him, his personality, his sense of humor, cracking jokes, being really funny. And I love the guy. I'm like, this is somebody I'd want to have a beer with. This is a guy I want to be friends with. He's awesome. I just love reading his stuff. I love his stories. I love how authentic he is, how transparent he is. The other 50% of his book was just brilliant marketing advice, brilliant marketing strategy, brilliant marketing framework. So by the time I finished the book, I messaged John Michael Morgan and was like, if you'll take me, I'd love to hire you as a coach. How much do I need to pay? That was literally my outreach to him. It wasn't, I'd like to have a free discovery call for you to try to impress me and blah, blah. Like, think about how many coaches, or if you are sitting in that place of scarcity where you say, well, I'll do a free discovery call with anyone to try to demonstrate expertise and give advice and hope at the end you might want to become a client. Why on earth would you do that when you have to expend all that energy one-on-one in real time live to a person demonstrating how awesome of a coach you are, and they may or may not be qualified, they may or may not sign up as a client, but you've given away all that expertise and time because you're kind of desperate to bring in business. What if you bottled up all your best coaching frameworks, strategies, insights, ideas, and publish that as a book, an ebook, an on-demand video, something where you could give that to people to qualify them and say, hey, if you're curious about my coaching style, my approach, how I help people do X, Y, Z, here's my book, or here's a video that really outlines my story, my journey, how I develop these frameworks, and then you could check them out. And if that's the kind of coaching you're looking for at a deeper level, then let's talk. And so that was basically what John was doing with that book. I don't even know if even he knew at the time, but I basically went to him with my wallet out, like, please, please, please take my money, right? And so I hired him as a coach. I've had him ever since, and I've really never forgotten that lesson of putting that content through. And it all ties back to this LinkedIn DM debacle where, mistake number one, a competitor just overdid it in the DMs, was doing too much writing, too much haggling, trying to write out the contract on the spot. The prospect got a weird vibe. They maybe even misread some of the written text because you can't connect a real emotional or tone or person to it. They hit eject. The person linked to their book on Amazon, so they went to look at the book on Amazon, found competitor books, ended up choosing me because they liked 50% of what my book was about, my story, my journey, and felt like they connected with that. And 50% they liked all my insights, ideas, tips, and tactics on LinkedIn. Then they moved through after qualifying with that content. Then they came to me, filled out a form. I knew they were qualified. The sales call was very easy because they already felt like they knew, like, and trusted me from the book. And it was very easy to move forward and close a 5-figure deal. So with all that said, I wanted to put that together. I wanted to share that with you because there's so many good lessons in that, and understanding, again, moving people off of LinkedIn into a video call, using content to pre-qualify them. And if you want more of this, if you want really the whole blueprint, it's in the book, LinkedIn Riches. Again, you can get it for free. So no excuses. Just go to linkedinriches.com. You can grab it for free there. And again, obviously, if you want our help at the done-for-you level with Nemo Media Group and our agency, you can find more about that on linkedinriches.com or nemomediagroup.com. I know we have a full-service agency done for you, LinkedIn lead generation. Amazing, amazing stuff. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon on another episode.